these days, I'm always telling that the most important day of your life every year is not your birthday anymore. It's your medical screening. Because today's MRI machine and AI in there can help you to detect early stage cancer in 99% of cases. Human eye of doctor working under time pressure, which is seem to be the current state of the healthcare, and because it's early stage cancer, it's literally invisible on MRI scans. So this is extremely important. I'm not a doctor. I have three different degrees, but I've never done anything close to like healthcare or medicine from professional perspective. And I can tell you, I literally save 10 to 15 lives every year. And it's all the same story. Sergey, I've done early stage cancer. They treated me because I catch it, right now, not in 5 years when it's going to be like stage 4 and I'm about to die. I survived. I'm with my family. Thank you.
Welcome to the Health Beats podcast, brought to you by the inaugural Abu Dhabi Global Healthcare Week. The Health Beats podcast series is your window into healthcare industry news making headlines and the role of Abu Dhabi and the UAE in unlocking global healthcare momentum. We give you an insight into the future of the global healthcare sector and Abu Dhabi's contribution to it. I'm your host, Lara Satrakian, and in today's episode, we're talking to Sergey Young, author, investor, and visionary thinker in the science of longevity. He's the founder of the Longevity Vision Fund and an innovation board member at the X Prize. Our conversation today is entitled Longevity and Growing Young, the Steps Taken to Reverse Aging. Sergey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
We have so much to learn from you and so little time. Where to begin? Your own journey led you to this arc of work in health longevity. How did your personal story lead you to this place?
I think the unfortunate reality is that more than 90% of us starting to be interested in health from our own personal health crisis. So I faced mine back probably to 2015, 2016. It was not dramatic. I just happened to have extremely high cholesterol level. But I kind of thought, well, there's something called health and healthcare and longevity. This is the new thing that I need to manage. And I started to dig into the world of human biology, how we can change that. And I got so excited. And because I was investing for the last 20 years, I thought the best thing to do for learning, but also for supporting the development of the space, is to establish my own venture fund, which would invest in longevity technologies. And it was the most rewarding part of my life. I'm very excited about the change that I made personally and the change that we, together with the Longevity Vision Fund team, were able to create around the world.
What are you investing in now? What's the frontier of longevity tech?
So when people ask me about what are the most exciting technologies which would bring another 10, 20, 30 healthy and happy years to our life, I'm always talking about three things. Thing number one is gene editing and gene therapy. Just a few years ago, 20 years ago, it took humanity 13 years and $3 billion to sequence human genome. Today, to make a full sequencing of your genome, and we do it here in the UAE as well, it's just $200 and literally a few hours. So this is very exciting. It's very promising technological avenue. Number two is organ regeneration. Our ability to regenerate organ, similar to extension the lifespan of the old cars by replacing spare parts and even an engine, is the way forward for us to be, forever young. And in today's world, we're looking at different technologies to regenerate organs. You can use your own lymph nodes to regrow the new liver, like the company called Ligenesis, which is part of our portfolio, does. You can 3D print organ, or you can use some animal material to regrow new organs like lungs as well. So this is very exciting space. So thing number two is organ regeneration. And technology number 3 is the use of AI for drug discovery and drug development. So we're talking about completely new class of drugs, which are going to be called longevity drug or age reversal drugs, which will be available soon in the next 5 to 10 years. And while
And what will
in
those drugs
today's
do?
world,
What do they operate on, in a sense?
yeah,
What are the
so
drugs?
yeah, it can easily be gene therapy, or it can easily be the drug which would work on 1 out of 9 hallmarks of aging, different processes inside our body which contributes to aging. For example, these drugs can influence ability of our body to take away senescent cells, which is basically cellular waste, and we lose the ability to take away this cellular waste with the time, with age. So that's one of the examples of what can be done. So in today's world, if you go to the pharmacy and you ask for drug against aging, they would send you to cosmetics or to supplements. 5-10 years from now, you can easily bring the receipt from your doctor, and this can be drug from the good old days like metformin, who's been in existence for the last 60 years, repurposed with the help of AI, or it can be completely new drug developed by one of the companies, including 3 in our investment portfolio, which use artificial intelligence to create new drugs which would address causes of aging. So these are the 3 things that we invest in.
I want to go back to the first thing for a moment. At Abu Dhabi Global Healthcare Week 2024, I had a fascinating conversation with an Emirati cardiologist who's looking at interventions in genomics, looking at essentially congenital heart conditions and how you can help someone who has that genetic tendency, who's alive today, not at the fetal stage, and help them essentially not silence that gene, but intervene in that gene. And she was describing to me, I want to see how this squares with you in technology, that if you are a person, an adult person who has a genetic tendency toward a certain disease, we're not too far from the point where you may be able to get some sort of injection where the gene is overcome, at least the cells in that area, in the heart area or in the affected area, are overcome by a genome that is doesn't have that deficiency or that thing. Is that a fair description? Help us
Oh, yeah,
understand how
absolutely.
far we are.
Just 20 years ago, we invented the gene editing technique called CRISPR technology. And basically, this 20 years old technology can cut the gene inside your DNA. So in a way, it's because it's early stage technology. We were just in the beginning of developing gene editing and gene therapy space. CRISPR, the old technology, can basically cut the gene, in a way, silence that, and then Mother Nature would sort out, how to repair DNA afterwards. So at this time, gene editing technologies were literally focusing on extremely rare diseases. So, for example, in one of the case, they were looking at disease, and I think there were only 10 people in the world suffering from that. So this is where the pilot technology and a group of people, this is where it was tested. Fast forward today, we're looking at using gene editing and gene therapy for a number of age-related diseases that are, basically can take billions of people. We're talking about heart disease, we're talking about cancer, we're talking about diabetes or metabolic diseases as well. We just invested in a company which use that to fight neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer, dementia as well. So, and if the beginning of development of my fund, my dream and my mission was to change 1 billion lives, this year I need to redefine my mission because, gene editing and gene therapy companies that we're investing in are literally have an application to help more than billion plus people all around the
They
world.
have an application, but there's a time lag. There's a time
Oh,
lag between the
absolutely.
technology.
So
How many
everything.
years away are we?
Oh, yeah. We're talking about 10, 20 years from now.
Hmm.
And, obviously, in the context of one human life, that's a lot. If you think about humanity and evolution, this is still pretty sensible time to develop something new, this revolutionary technology to amend our genetic code. So that's why, I'm 52 chronologically. If you look at my biological age, I'm 39. So I use some of the longevity lifestyle interventions like diet, um, sleep, exercises to be younger. But even like for me as investor, I don't know if I'm working for all of us today or we're doing something for the next generation. But I'm pretty sure if we talk about our kids, or about our grandchildren, I'm pretty sure they will have access to these revolutionary technologies, amending our DNAs as well. I think we're going to be ready in 10, 20 years from now. I'm not concerned about science. I'm not concerned about technological side of it. I'm actually more concerned about the ethics, society, regulation. And my biggest fear is that when we're going to be ready in 10, 20 years from now, from scientific and technological perspectives, society will not approve the idea of use of gene editing technologies. But that's like a separate ethical and moral issue.
Do you think it'll break down by country? Some will be more receptive than others?
Yes. Well, this is where UAE plays out pretty well. Because I think as someone who spent significant amount of time in Abu Dhabi and UAE in the Middle East, I can tell you that from my perspective, UAE has been able and will be able to find the right balance between looking at and supporting development of some revolutionary technologies like gene editing, gene therapy, organ regeneration on one side. On the other side, still managing the societal, ethical, and moral issues associated with this. So I found so many people, both in UAE government organizations and as entrepreneurs, who are very open-minded about embracing and supporting development of new technologies. So one of our portfolio companies, while our fund is very much US focused because US is a center of scientific and academic innovations in the world in the biotech field, one of our companies relocated the whole AI development office in Masdar city in Abu Dhabi, UAE. They have more than 70 AI engineers now working on use of artificial intelligence for drug discovery. It's called In Silico Medicine, and it was founded by a good friend, Alex Javoronkov. These guys, they've been able to compress first 2 years of drug development cycle into 2 months quite recently. So this is the type of improvement we're talking about.
It seems like you're telling us about the geography and, if not the geopolitics, the sort of geospatial reality of longevity tech. It may be that a technology is developed in the US, but it's rolled out or adopted somewhere else first. It sounds like
absolutely.
It's the country's willingness, X, the individual willingness, with some factor of ability for people to pay. Right now, preventive health of all kinds is a personal investment that most people make. It's not something that insurance companies cover. I can't imagine how they would fathom some of these interventions. How do you see this intersecting with preventive care as a whole and the likelihood that humanity at large is even going to be able to access some of these? Is it just a longer time horizon, or is this going to be a pretty unequal proposition? Not by design, but by reality of how healthcare works in the world.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And the mission of our fund is bring affordable and accessible version of longevity to the world. So for us, from the day one, it was extremely important to bring something which would help us to help billions of people without, going into inequality issue. And the way we decided to tackle is to invest in technologies which would bring today 10, 20, 50, not percent, but times improvement in terms of cost and efficiency. I can give you just a few
chronic
examples. Like we
conditions,
invested in,
things. Yeah.
like AI-based early cancer diagnostic toolkit in a company called Freenome. It's a very well-known company based in the US, supported by Google Ventures as well. So they bring in the test to analyze early stage cancer for 7 different cancer types just by using our blood test. The cost of it is like 10 times less than the cost of colonoscopy that currently is in use to detect colon cancer. 10 times. So it's like $250 to test 7 different cancer types. You can do it every quarter. And this will be much cheaper in terms of the current diagnostic technologies. But more importantly, because it will be cancer discovered at early stage, recovery rates and the cost of treatment and the quality of treatment will be extremely high. Like stage 1 cancer survival rate is from 90 to 100%, depending on the cancer type, but in general, that's the case. Stage 4 cancer survival rates, and I remember the figures for colon cancer, is anywhere between 8 and 23%. So that's, and moreover, obviously, stage 4 cancer treatment is at least 10 times more, and probably more than 20 times more expensive than treating the early stage cancer as well. So this is example of how we use technology and the scientific breakthroughs that we invest in to democratize access to healthcare. And again, out of 18 companies that we invested, I can give you so many examples that we bring in the opportunity to take the cost down by 10, 20 times.
I'm very excited to read your book, genuinely excited to read your book. And I want to get into some of the things in this conversation that we can understand now that you put in that book. One is the 3 most popular myths to longevity. Can you describe them and help us understand what you were getting across?
I think the myth number 1 is that we're going to live in the same physical body. So like we're stuck in the same physical body for, 70, 80 or 100 years or beyond. And as we discussed today, the humans of the future will be different biologically and technologically from humans of today. So we're probably one of the last generations of biological humans living in this world, because we're going to be using a lot of technology and a lot of different technologies to augment the humans. For example, I'm already using artificial intelligence in my smartphone to augment myself, right? I'm not memorizing any phone numbers or any other important details. It's all done by my smartphone. The only problem, I'm using very inefficient interface to use this AI. So I'm using my eyes, my fingers to type, my ears to do the audio messaging as well. So this is happening already. So technology will be much more integrated with us. And we also discuss our ability to regenerate and replace organs. One of the potential technological avenues for us to use human avatars. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm in love with our physical bodies and our ability to influence them, make them younger.
Avatars in the sense that a different physical form with our mental control goes into a different physical
for
plane
example.
to move.
So my dream,
live.
my dream is to go to Mars. But in today's world, if we use all the beautiful technologies that are now under development by Elon Musk and so many great people all around the world, it's at least 3 years project if you just go back and forth. And I don't have, being a father of 4, I don't have 3 years of time to be spent outside our beautiful planet. So that's why I think in the future, using avatars and experiencing Mars without investing 3 years of my time into that can be, very interesting as well.
Another way to live. Third myth. So the third myth.
Well, and the third myth is that we are looking at the world where we will suffer from overpopulation, and therefore it will be not enough resources to support overpopulated Earth, And people assume that overpopulation will come from longevity. As we all know, reproduction rates for so many countries are below 2, which means that for every couple of male and female, man and woman, it's less than 2 kids. And I was just looking at figures for some of the European countries is actually 1.3, 1.4. So, and if you look at the mathematical model of the world population for the next 100 years, what's going to happen? The world population going to grow to the level of 10, 11 billion people by the year 2050. And then we're going to start losing population as well. And I don't think so many of us are aware of this demographic crisis that we're expecting in literally 20 years from now. China itself will lose 600 million people from 1.4 billion to 800 million people as well. So in a way, longevity for us is not a risk which will lead to overpopulation on Earth, but an opportunity for us to redefine the age, and for all of us be in constructive and productive period of our life, even if we turn 70 or 80 or 90 years.
I have a little bit of an issue in a good way with the way you describe the first myth of longevity. I think of something I heard Deepak Chopra say once, which is your body is not a thing, it's a process. And so if you think both about these technological interventions, whether we become hybrid, bionic, whatever we describe it, they're basically just keeping the systems working well. It's more like upkeep of a car than you don't have to be young. You are young, but you don't have to be reversing aging or keeping yourself young. You're just improving the performance of your systems and your particular parts. And that process keeps moving in a better way. And you don't create these offshoots, these cells, these tumors, and whatever else it might be. You talk about the main causes of aging. You touched on some of them, the senescent cells. But just to help us understand, when we think about intervening, what are we intervening in? What is the aging process that you are intervening in through this panoply of investments and technologies?
It's very usual for us to look for one particular reason behind a problem or behind the process. So human mind would actually try to simplify the things. And that's why so many people, when we are discussing longevity, would always ask me, like, Sergey, what is the one thing that why we age, or what is the one thing that I need to do? And for the beauty of complexity of human body, this is not fair. So that's why for so many, well, for 1,000 years, we were unaware what causes aging. And it was only back in 2013 when the famous paper academic paper were published called Hallmarks of Aging. So right now, there's a common agreement that at least 9 different processes or reasons inside our body which contributes to aging. So that's why solution to aging and solution for longevity will never be kind of one thing. So in a way, we would need to influence so many things. And we did discuss with you, it can be gene editing and gene therapy. In fact, we already know all 3,000 genes in our DNA, which are called longevity genes. They overexposed in the bodies of people we call centenarians, who live 100 years and above. So you can basically influence the expression of these genes inside your body by using gene editing and gene therapy tools, or in opposite, if some of the genes inside your DNA are working against your healthy and happy life and longer years, you can actually amend them. So that's the beauty of this. Then we also talk about senescent cells, the cellular waste inside our body. And there are a number of drugs which can actually influence this process. Then let's talk about our immune system. And there is something called thymus, which, here inside our body. And this organ is responsible for creating the supporting our immune system. And it actually starts to shrink from the age of 20. That's why, the longer we live, the less and less the potency and capacity of immune system we have. So one of the technologies that we investing in can actually regrow thymus inside our body. Even today in longevity experiment, people use the growth hormones to recreate the growth and reverse the shrinkage of this. So redefining your immune system can bring it to a completely different level. And then there's something called epigenetic alteration, uh, and it's the subject of work of so many great people in the world, including David Sinclair, who also spoke at Abu Dhabi Global Health Week. We were actually on stage the same day, and you can basically reprogram cells inside your bodies, and literally these technologies, by use of Yamanaka factors, you can create a new young cell and piece of your body from the old cell. So we're talking about different range of technologies that from drugs that can support in a very simple way our ability to eliminate cellular waste, to changing our genetic setup or epigenetic setup to become literally much younger person.
I would love to jump into the environmental factors and how to create the conditions for the epigenetic expression to go in your favor. We've learned a lot from blue zones where
Yes.
centenarians tend to congregate. But I'm going to park that question for a minute because I think everyone would love to know what you do, not because you hold some secret key or you're
Yeah.
in the pantheon or Mount Olympus of longevity, but generally, what have you, given what we know right now about the technology and the body, what have you chosen as the most worthwhile changes you've made in your own lifestyle to apply what you've learned?
Yes. So, well, first of all, I'll give you the shorter answer to that. But that's such an exciting topic. I can spend hours sharing what can
You
be
do
done
that
and
much?
what other people.
That's very,
Yes,
that's a
that's a lot.
sign.
But
Yeah.
like the last chapter of my book called "The Science and Technology of Growing Young," it's the longest chapter in the book. It actually takes 40 pages, covers 10 longevity choices. What are the things that we can do right now? So let's make
And
it
that you do.
relatively
Yeah.
short.
Make
Yeah.
make sure
So
you get us there.
when I have 30 seconds, I push people to do medical screening. And these days, I'm always telling that the most important day of your life every year is not your birthday anymore. It's your medical screening. Because today's MRI machine and AI in there can help you to detect early stage cancer in 99% of cases. Human eye of doctor working under time pressure, which is seem to be the current state of the healthcare. And because it's early stage cancer, it's literally invisible on MRI scans. So this is extremely important. I'm not a doctor. I have three different degrees, but I've never done anything close to like healthcare or medicine from professional perspective. And I can tell you, I literally save 10 to 15 lives every year. And it's all the same story. Sergey, I've done early stage cancer. They treated me because I catch it, right now, not in 5 years when it's going to be like stage 4 and I'm about to die. I survived. I'm with my family. Thank you. So that's important.
Beautiful. That's
Second
beautiful.
is, and I want to talk about the power of sensors. So you can see I have like number of sensors today on my hand. So I'm using my Oura ring to measure my sleep, and I'm using my Apple Watch. You can use like any smartwatch that you want, but it's not a smartwatch anymore. It's our personalized healthcare device, and I think it's important to realize how powerful today's sensors are, and they can actually detect like I think even 3 years ago, last time I checked, Apple Watch can detect 5 different types of heart arrhythmia. It can literally save your life. You can fall down on the street, Apple Watch can call ambulance for you. And I can go on and on with all of these examples, and literally every month or two we have a new feature added to our gadget, which help us to track our health on a day-to-day basis. And the rest is in today's world, because we're still waiting for all these beautiful technologies that we discussed, is our lifestyle changes. Diet, exercise, sleep, all of this is extremely important.
I will read the book with gusto. We're almost out of time. I have to ask you about Abu Dhabi Global Healthcare Week, your choice to live in Abu Dhabi and do this work from here, including apparently moving helping one of your portfolio companies move to Abu Dhabi. What's it like working on this from here? What excites you about it? How do you see Abu Dhabi's role as a platform, investor, accelerator of where this field is going?
When we moved to Abu Dhabi, we thought as a family, it's just like for 1 or 2 years. And how little did we know, because all of the people that we met in Abu Dhabi, and they were like, okay, 15 years ago, we thought exactly the same. And right now it's our second decade in Abu Dhabi. So you quickly, fall in love with this place. This is more on emotional or irrational side. But on the rational side, every time we talk about Abu Dhabi or UAE, I know a lot of people from US or from Asia, which using Abu Dhabi as a hub to cover so many important geographies. You can even go in circles, right? Abu Dhabi by itself is important. It's probably more than 95% of the wealth of the UAE because of, obviously oil and gas. Then we talk about, UAE overall. So it's very easy to cover UAE from Abu Dhabi. Then we talk about Middle East, and people find very comfortable given the connectivity that we have from Abu Dhabi and from Dubai, which is, our 30 minutes drive. From here, you can cover the whole Middle East from there. And it's extremely important. And it's also important in terms of business infrastructure. I have my 3 companies in ADGM. This is Abu Dhabi Global Markets, special financial zone right in the center of city. And, I have 0 issues doing business in Middle East. Then I know a lot of people and a lot of companies who are establishing their base here to cover sub-Saharan Africa and India, Pakistan, and even the whole Asia. So it's almost like a half of the world that you can cover from this beautiful place. And that's why there's just a lot of personal and business reasons to use Abu Dhabi as a hub. And I can tell you, for 2 years in a row, we had the most positive experience in our life.
Well, Sergey, we're happy you're here, and we're happy we met you at Abu Dhabi Global Healthcare Week. Thank you for joining us. This has been fascinating.
Likewise, stay healthy and happy.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Health Beats podcast. For more healthcare industry news, visit the Abu Dhabi Global Healthcare Week newsletter. The link is in our bio. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, and continue to follow Health Beats by Abu Dhabi Global Healthcare Week for your global healthcare industry digest.